and then it's just been busy. So I was like, all right, let me knock it out on the weekend. You know what I mean?
I mean, back day is well. I mean, it's a good thing to hit on the weekend
Yeah,
because like legs, it takes a little bit more effort to do back day the right way.
right.
I mean, you're not going to just be doing cable stuff most of the time. So
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
I've switched up. I still get pull ups in here and there, but not like I used to. You know what I mean? Like I'll probably get like a set in, and then I'll follow it up with something else, like a pull
okay.
down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been. I've been, I do them for a little while, and then I'll drift off to something else, and then
Yeah,
eventually I'll come back to them again. So,
yeah. And I think you would
uh,
agree. It's not always so important to do the same exercise. It's more about how you're doing it.
yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah,
because that's the good thing about me, like having this rotation where, last week it was heavy back, and then
yeah,
this week was heavy legs. So tomorrow's gonna be more of a more of a rep, back day.
yeah.
Still
And
moving
and like
heavy
you said,
weight.
that saves the joints.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's definitely it definitely does wonders because I can actually, you know, be was it 14 days before I do the same heavy day again.
Yeah,
So I'll be recovered for the next heavy day. And I can actually push a little further.
yeah. That makes perfect sense. I love it. I think it's a brilliant way to train. Um, yeah, man. And that's the thing. I think you gotta, and we talked about this too. Adjust at different stages, obviously, right? Like we talked about when you were earlier into lifting, you could have probably pushed a little more, a little longer, But
Yeah.
now, and I mean, it all just comes back to, yeah, we can get stronger. We can, build up our tendons to a degree. We build up our strength with our muscle, but you're still working with the same CNS as when you were a beginner,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and also you're a lot stronger now than you were when
Yeah.
you started. So obviously, the stronger you are, the more you have to do, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, gone are the days of like walking into a leg day going straight to the squat rack.
Yeah. Yep.
We have to stretch, we have to do the abductors, we have to do
Yeah.
the calves and the hamstrings, and then we go to the squat.
Yeah, exactly, brother. That's cool because I actually wanted to touch on something we're kind of jumping into. And I know how we talked about an exercise like a barbell squat kind of can be used to build up other lifts, has
Yes.
that kind of carryover. Well, another thing, and I know you agree with this, it keeps you accountable for a lot of different things that you should be doing that are easy to stop doing. So, for example, let's say I get away from barbells completely, and we'll just use the squat, for example, like a back squat.
Hmm.
Now I don't have to be as on top of my mobility when I squat. You know what I'm saying? Big guys like us, you get kind of tight across the chest, right? Your shoulders get tight. So for
Yeah.
us to get in a bar, we have to get our shoulder back. You know what I'm saying? And the barbell forces you to be able to do that. Whereas if I got into the machine and all I did all the time was that, I don't have to do that. I can just let my shoulders get bad.
Yeah, that was the thing with me and doing squats was like it would take um three or four warm-up sets to really
Same,
get good underneath the bar
same.
before we're good to go.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's like a double-edged sword. I mean, it's like, okay, I've gotten so big to where now, getting underneath the squat bar
yeah,
is, it's not impossible, but it's
yeah,
just a little
yeah.
work.
Exactly, exactly. But it
Like,
but it teaches you how to add in some mobility work. You know what I
yes.
mean? And you do, and I understand too, get to a point where that may not be the option for you, anymore, right? Just because, like we're saying, everything gets so big across here, that ability to be in that position, you need something else. But for a time, you do need to learn how to be more mobile, you
No,
know?
yes. I mean, once I get to like by the time I get to my top set,
Yeah.
it's like it's there. I'm good,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then next week I have to repeat the whole thing again. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does teach you like because I stand. a lot at my second job. That's
Yeah,
why I have to work on like mobility stuff before I
right.
even do legs.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And that's a
Yeah.
good point. It's like it's all you got to kind of build your day to optimize what you do in the gym when you get there. So it's
Yes.
not just what you do in the gym, it's what you were doing before the gym. Where you're sitting
Yes.
on your ass for so long, now you got tight hamstrings, tight glutes. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking about, you need to loosen something up because if you come in there and you're already going to lose. If you're not doing.
Yeah, exactly. I've like there was a time where I wasn't doing all this stuff, and then I uh, watched a video of a friend of mine's that was going through some mobility stuff because he works outside, he works on roofs and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and I started doing those exercises, and ever since then it was like that leg day. It was the best one I've had in a while.
yeah,
So it was like, okay, I'm keeping these movements in permanently before every leg day. I don't care what we're doing. I don't care how much time we have. I gotta do this.
yeah. I got a crazy story for you, Kurt.
Okay.
Um, when my squat was at its highest, it's not here now, but when it was at its highest, I was touching around 600. And
Okay.
we're talking like how we squat. We're not like high bar. We're
No.
not going high on it. We're burying it. So that was right around that number. But I remember when I was peaking up to that, like before I got to that, I was stuck probably in the 570 range. I just couldn't get past it. I just could not get past it. And the first thing I remember, I was actually working with Ben at the time. I'm like, Ben, I'm just at a sticking point. Like I just don't feel I don't feel what I normally would feel when I'm coming out of the hole. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like I lost the ability to contract, the glutes. And you need that. You need that to fire up with the heavy weight. And
Yes.
so the first thing Ben says to me, he's like, go get a massage. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't need to relax and chill. I need to get stronger. He's like, go get a massage. And
Yeah.
I'll beat myself into the ground until somebody says you need to take care of something else. So I do. I go get a massage. I kid you not, Kurt. In I went up 50 pounds in the next session
I believe
because
that.
what had happened was over time with progressing the load the way I was pretty rapid. Everything in the glute just got locked up tight, and a tight muscle can't fire.
Yes.
So that was what was that. That was why, and Ben knew right away. He knew. He's like, you don't feel your glute. I'm like, no. I'm like, I cannot feel it when I'm squatting, and I normally do. And the second that I literally like the day after I got that massage, I'm like, things are feeling better. It was just the weight up, 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 up. I'm like, damn, like that meant that like it made a big difference.
Yeah. As soon as you said massage, I knew exactly what he was going to address, and that goes back to the reason why I started doing this mobility stuff at the
Yeah,
beginning of my leg day because I was having issues with, getting really deep in my squats. And
yeah,
it got to a point where I would like, I would have this pattern when I squat,
hmm,
where like my lower back would bend and then I would drop.
right,
And you could, like, there's older videos of me where you can see that, and you can
yeah,
see like my hamstrings were tight,
yeah,
just couldn't get any, like I barely broke parallel. And then
yeah,
eventually I started doing these mobility exercises, and all of a sudden it's like I can go boom
yeah, yeah,
every time, every
yeah,
time. And
yeah,
like you said, I was feeling my glutes then, and that's the reason why I stuck to doing that stuff before every leg day. I know most people are going to be like, well, it's kind of counterproductive to like stretch before you do legs. Like, no, I heard that too, but
I
then
heard
I
that
did
too.
this.
Yep.
Yeah, I started doing this stuff, and granted, I'm mostly trying to open my hips
Yeah.
and get my hamstrings
Yeah.
loose. You know, that's majority of what I'm doing. But yeah, I started doing that stuff, and like every leg day I was hitting a PR on something. It was just
Yeah. And
squatting
it's
was so
fun.
much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And squatting was so much more fun and so much easier to do. It was just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, wearing squat shoes helped too,
Yeah.
but even when I was wearing the squat shoes, I was still having that problem. I was still doing this.
Yeah.
like with my
We're
lower back.
we're coming around to what I was trying to make my point earlier, which was you learn so much more with correcting and how to get stronger on a squat during that process, like we're talking about the massage, the mobility, getting the hands loose, that you can carry into other things in the gym. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And I think that if you don't have that experience with a squat, with a barbell bench, those kinds of things, you are very likely not going to get the knowledge or the know-how instinctually to say, I feel this, I move this way, I know how to adjust. I know what I need to do.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I see what you're talking about.
You know
Because
what I'm saying?
when you're it's like it's different, with us because we've done literally every exercise in the book.
Yeah.
Okay, but we've also know how to contract the chest on like barbell bench press, and we know
Mhm.
how to contract the chest when it comes to pec flies.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, lifetime beginners, they can only learn how to contract a muscle when they're on a machine,
Right. Right.
you know, and that's the reason why they don't like doing squats. They don't
Right.
like doing barbell bench because it takes a lot more effort to
Hmm.
make that mind muscle connection with free weights versus machines. It's easier with the
Right.
machines.
And also your form at the start of when you do a lift, you know? I mean that you have to lock that in. And it's going to be a little different for everybody.
Yeah.
And you once you know how to lock it, for example, when I had my bench peaked, that carried into all the other lifts that I did for chest. You know what I'm saying? It was like I didn't need as many warm-up sets on the machines. Like I could just sit down and I'm like, yep, this is where it's at, you know?
And I think for me, it's like on the bench press, I've had to start doing the same thing. I have to start doing some mobility work
Yeah.
before I go to do bench, and like opening up the shoulders, and whatnot. But also, I started going back to doing cable crossovers as
Mhm.
opposed to a pec deck to really get the chest activated. Because when I went to go bench yesterday, my chest was pretty much moving away the entire time
Yeah.
versus before where it kind of felt like my chest, but it felt like my shoulder too. So, but
We
that right there made a difference.
Right, right. And I know it's like we have different goals at different times, right? Like we might spend a period where we want to peak a certain lift, right? But then we may have another goal where the focus might not be just on, a max effort lift or a 3RM or something, right? It's more of a higher rep range type PR, you know?
Yes.
And sometimes we adjust, I know I do, how you're moving to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'll use an example of like using a bench to mainly progress like my pec, in times of development. I won't necessarily use the same setup I would as a power for a 1RM. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to isolate, I want to take a little more of other muscles out of it. So I might
Yeah.
not have quite as big of an arch, or my grip width might change a little bit to where when I'm at my strongest grip width, it's a little narrower. I feel more tricep. I feel more a back. I feel different, and I'll make that slight adjustment if my goal is not necessarily a strength goal for a bench, but more so I need to bring certain part of my pec up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you'll
No.
see it all the time. Like when I do my incline work, I am constantly adjusting how I do my incline work. There's times where I want to move more weight and I want to get past the sticking point. And so what I'll typically do is I'll have my touch point a little lower, you know what I'm saying, on the pec, and I'll put a little bit more lat into the press. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you know what I mean by that. It's like you can feel it all come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus if I want to take a little lat out and I want more of a certain part like the upper pec, I tend to lighten the weight a little bit and I'll touch all the way up near my throat.
I've
But
seen
when I
that.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like when I do that, my range of motion changes. I can't lift as heavy like that, and I'm not engaging everything else. It's more targeted up in here. But I mean, holy shit, what I'm feeling, it's like every set just feels like my chest is ripping in half. Whereas
Nah.
if it's more of a strength thing, it's like I feel everything. It's
Oh
like I'm
yeah.
feeling my whole, feeling my back. I'm feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's where I've been gravitating towards is like, when it comes to like benching and doing incline work is more or
Mhm.
less making that, mind muscle connection versus
Yeah,
trying to utilize other body parts, other muscles too.
yeah.
Because like
You
I
got to
said,
play around so much to
yeah,
find it.
yes, yeah, and
And
I
I think
had
what I was trying, yeah,
a period where I would, I was coming closer in on a bench press and that I felt like I was using, like you said, more back, more,
yeah,
more shoulders, more chest. Then I went back to recently going back to a wide grip. Well, just
yeah,
basically these fingers on the ring. And, that right there is targeting my chest a lot more by
yep,
itself.
yeah,
And it's less off my shoulders. So I'm just gonna go that direction for right now, as opposed to bringing it in close grip and then trying
yeah,
to go, like you said, try to, move PRs. So.
yeah. And that's the thing, having the barbell experience. It's like when you are at the highest level of most things. So I'm going to use, like, for me, it's wrestling. When I was at the highest level, my brain shut off. I'm responding. I'm reacting to what I'm feeling throughout my body without consciously saying I need to do X, Y, Z. I literally just move around. I'm like, there it is. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think the barbell helps you get to a point where you can find what you need to feel more quickly and keep it there, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes
You
sense.
know?
Yeah, that again, that comes with experience because
Yes.
you could like I can get to like a barbell incline and it takes me a minute to like really feel it before I
Right.
go into it. And it's the same thing when I go to the machine. You have to adjust the seat up and down. You have to make
Yep.
sure you kind of have to make that connection with the muscle before you go, you
Yeah.
know.
Exactly.
And that's something that you really can't get if only you're focusing on just machines all the
Yeah.
time because you're not being aware of what you're doing, what your muscles are doing. You're allowing the machine to kind of do it for you,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to being aware of what it's doing, and then and then going to doing free weights and duplicating the same thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, for
And,
the
and, and
longest,
I mean, there's a really, really obvious thing that I know you understand. A lot of people listening probably understand too. Let's say I get to a level where I max out a machine. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? And then let's say I get to a level where I max out the same muscle, right, on a bar. So, like, we'll just use the example of a barbell bench and a chest press on a machine. Well, my maxed out barbell bench is easily going to carry to the machine and let me rep the stack a lot. My
yes,
maxed out machine is going to make me embarrass myself on a barbell.
always, yes.
Oh,
I, there's just one machine at my gym that when I first came to the gym, I couldn't do the stack.
yeah.
Okay, the stack goes to 300 pounds. It's a
Hmm.
chest. A horizontal chest press, and I couldn't do the whole stack on it.
Yeah.
Okay, now things have changed as far as how I train, and obviously my bench has gone up. So now when I go back to this very same machine, even pre-exhausted, I can do the whole stack for multiple sets.
Yeah.
And that's just because I'm aware of the muscle actually working as opposed to
Right.
letting the machine do it for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you only get that way if you've been doing the freeway stuff, the barbell
No,
stuff,
no,
the stuff.
no. And, and,
Yeah.
and, 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 and it's a different physique that gets built when you know the background and how the person approaches their training. You see the different physique from the person who is more machine based, is more doing your typical exercises versus the other person who might say, I'm attacking the hardest stuff that I'm the weakest at, and I
Okay.
constantly do that.
Okay. Uh, okay. So you've been to a bodybuilding show just like spectating, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is just me or not, okay? But when I'm actually watching a bodybuilding show, like in person, not online, in person, because it's different online. But
Yeah,
in person, I can easily tell, just like off the physiques, who's basically have been hitting the free weights a lot and who
yeah,
hasn't.
yeah. I'll tell you what I see: a greater density in the back overall. You
Hmm.
know, it pops more. I see bigger spinal erectors, and I see the hamstrings better.
Yes,
Generally,
yes.
those are the main
And
things I see.
yeah, that's what I see too, because I can look on stage and I can tell when someone is not doing those things. Their physique looks completely different. It doesn't stand out. It's more, how can I say? It doesn't
Softer,
look. Was that?
almost softer.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but that's what it really would look like to me. I
Yeah,
mean, I think there was, I can't remember if it was a video I saw of Kevin Levrone where
yeah,
he was critiquing somebody like physique wise, and he once he went through all the poses, he asked him, "Hey, is the majority of your training mostly machines?" He's like, "Yes." He's like, "I can tell from your physique."
yeah,
He was saying that you're missing the density, you're missing
yeah.
that 3D look.
Yes,
And he's like, because you stay on the machines all the time, you have a different. He says you don't have those things. He
right.
says he says you could. He said that he could tell he has muscle, but you know,
I'll use myself as an example real quick. I'll use
okay,
myself because I've been on both sides, you
okay,
know, and I'm going to use a particular body part. Let's say my abs, right? Um, I had an approach where it was more your typical sit up or, ball crunches or things like that. And my abs looked a certain way. Okay. Then I had another approach. It was more strength based. I need a rock solid core so I can handle a heavy barbell. So
yes,
there was a lot more braced ab wheel rollouts. Okay. You know how brutal that is. A lot
yes,
more hanging leg raises, right? Like full range and, high, like chasing PRs on those. And the look when I got lean, it versus, when I wasn't doing the hard ab work, it was the density was different. Do you know what I'm saying? But
your abs were like
they're
sticking
deeper.
out like 3D.
Yeah, yeah. They're like the ravioli abs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that I never and I'm talking like I might have trained not that style for a good 10 years, and it never reached that level. And I thought that was genetics, purely genetics. I'm like, I just don't have the genetics to have abs like that. But when I chased those exercises I hated because they're hard, man. Like,
yeah,
and I just got, and I literally, like, I was a nut. You should see, like, after COVID hit and I was at home, that was where I went crazy with ab work. And every week, what my goal was to add a rep across at least one set in 3 sets of hanging leg raises. And I would hit that at least 3 times a week to the point where, and I got some bigger legs, I'd be getting like 40 reps of like full range hanging leg raises. And I'm like, next week I have to do 41. The next week I have to do 42. And I approached it where I'm like, my abs are dead tired. I want to drop from this pull up bar and be done. But until I get that 41, I'm hanging onto this bar. And if I have to ref pause 41, I'm getting 41. So,
right.
like, that's the level I have of difficulty I had to get past to get the look to be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, I know what you mean. And now it's like your abs look differently
Yeah,
when you got lean. You
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
it's a different
And
look. It's not.
it's almost like once you've been there, you can back off a little.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Once you held that density for a period, like because I don't have to hit them as hard as I used to, and if I lean out, they look the same as they were.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
And the thing is like now it's like in the same instance, doing the basic crunch, you just don't feel it anymore.
Right.
You just don't feel
Right.
I like all my ab work is all weight. Is
Yeah.
doing weight crunches. That's why it's been for God knows how long. I can't do body weight crunches anymore. I just don't feel it.
Yeah.
Even when even during the pandemic, where we were forced out of the gym, I had to do, God knows, I had to do like 100 reps just to feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it
Yeah.
was just like, you know what I'm saying?
You're going to be
So
sitting there all day, and it's still not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same.
no, I agree. Because when the gyms opened up and I was actually able to get to like an ab machine, I could actually feel they all lit up like Christmas. It was like
Yeah.
bam, I could feel it.
Kurt, I got to
So
run in like a minute or two, but I
okay,
want to say something real quick. Like this kind of comes back, and I think this is what we're all about. Like that raw, that difficult, that thing that's the hardest. Master that shit.
yes,
Um, and this is where we saw eye to eye with the issue, and a lot of what's put out on social media now is it's a lot of like, here's how to make this thing more comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Here's how to take the challenge away and still develop. But it doesn't take you to the level that the opposite would. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't.
yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying on the last podcast is that sometimes you actually have to embrace a little bit of fear in those exercises
Yeah.
because they're hard for a reason. But
The people I think you'd agree with this. And in my experience, the people I met in person that just had a body part that was like, wow, that's different. Like that's wild. A lot of people I think dismiss it as, well, that must be genetics. And sometimes it is, but it's not always. And
and
I would say
it,
9 times out of 10, when I see that, the thing that shocks me, I ask them how they're training, and my first thought is, oh shit, that's hard. Like that's harder than what I've been doing. How can I add that?
that should be the conversation because somebody having perfect genetics, it's one of one. Even with the pro ranks, out
Yeah,
of the top 10, there might be two or three guys that actually are genetic freaks.
yeah,
It's not that common. So
correct.
again, that should be the conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one more thing too, real quick. I have a guy right now I'm training, Trent. I put up the post about it. He's
Yes.
50 years old. He is not using any kind of PED right now.
Wow.
If you look at the density that he has
I
for a
saw.
50-year-old,
I saw that.
I put him to work and he loves it. He loves it. So like,
Fuck,
yeah,
fuck
that's where
yeah.
that's coming from. That's where it's that this is hard. I want to be better at the hard thing.
That's how it should be. You should be aiming to be better at doing the hard shit and not being better at doing the easy shit
Yep.
because at
Yep.
the end of the day, when you're when you're on stage, for example, people are gonna see the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Brother, I got to roll. Good talk as
all right,
always.
always, brother.
All right. I'll talk to you.
All right, man.
Get fucking raw and get fucking intense.